time, my food time, fold it up and smoke it. Transgression, a progression of a war we ain't asked for. Transgression, a progression of a war we ain't asked for. It's madness, yo. All the things that we could talk about.
Call it.
But let's talk about these urban circumstances real quick.
And basically, it's
we got this.
So,
revolution.
Winner of frosty hand. Muhammad is the famed name, forever stand.
Standing on royal fusing of justice for the few, ridiculed by the pale terrorists, bent on genocidal obsession, rooted in fear of neglection and abandonment, fueled by nightmares of ancestors.
Truth, because at the end of the day, I still want to be able to I don't dislike George Washington.
The kind of friends I think all friends should be like my friends. My friends are the kind of friends I think everyone needs. My friends see the things at times I don't see. My friends hate the police.
What has changed?
Are deemed the criminals, and the blacks are deemed the criminals.
shut up and help.
Reflection ain't nothing but the inner child trying to see you. You gonna look? You gonna pick up that book?
Lord, keep me far from the faith. Guide me through night and day. Teach me your ways. Show me the righteous way to sway. Lord, can you teach me, please? Show me the way, I'd say. Good morning, 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 my good people. Good morning, good morning. Today is Wednesday, December 6th. Hope everybody's doing good. It's the middle of the week. Everybody getting ready for Christmas. Yeah, I'm really not sure what to, I do, but it's really sad that we as people don't understand what's going on in our societies, and we just ignore it. And honestly, I think it's past that to stop ignoring what is going on in our communities, and to pay attention to our kids, and to pay attention to our youth in our communities, and not just talk about it, but to be about it, because it's definitely past that time to stop talking about it and to be about it, because that's all I see is a lot of words and not actions, and that for me is a problem. I don't see how it isn't for other people, because again, we are coming into an election year, and this time it's a serious one. We're fighting for democracy, we're fighting for dignity, we're fighting for integrity, and not just as a nation, but us as Black people. It's time for us to be seen, and not just tokenized and taken advantage of for our power, and we don't even realize that we have power, as we have a lot of power, and it's time to start using that power to our advantage. It's definitely time to start using that and not just to take it for granted. You know what I'm saying? And stop voting for the lesser of two evils, because where has that gotten us? You know, it's got us the Civil Rights Act, which I think has pushed us backwards. It got us faith-based initiatives, which has pushed us backwards. It has gotten us the Crime Bill Act of 1994. It's gotten us mass incarceration. It's gotten us our kids left behind. It's got our kids out here getting killed from in these streets and at the hands of the police. And what are we still doing about it? Nothing. We're not doing anything. Damn, that's some good coffee. We're not doing anything about it. And that's the sickest part. And I'm going to tell you why we're not doing anything about it. I want to play this video. Now, I want people to understand trigger warning. Actually, let me make a banner for a trigger warning. Oh, I got one. All right. So I just want people to know that there's a trigger warning on this video. And it saddens me to play this video. Actually, let me just shut the hell up and just play it.
Damn, what the fuck is going on in Royal? What's up? Bitch, what's up? Yeah! Yeah, we
You literally. Now, this was over the weekend in Minneapolis, a video on Snapchat. That's part of the problem. You know, do people know where their kids are at? Do people know? And then the crazy part of it is these dummies went back the next day and tried to get the surveillance footage. I've actually been in Royal Tobacco, and they have surveillance cameras in the store, outside of the store. But I do see that one of the people had a mask on. Now, by their complexion, I don't think this was a black kid. I think this was an African-American kid. And not saying that is any better, because it's not. It's not better at all. I want to get into the National Gun Violence Archive a little bit, and I just want to show y'all. So let's go children killed or injured first. Let's talk about the kids and the statistics of all this. So let's look at this together. And all right, so you see Alabama, you see Indiana, California, Illinois, Dallas, Texas. And now these are children killed or injured in 2023. I want to go back and look at the numbers though, because those, actually these ones right here, this plays a big part in what we're dealing with when it comes to, oh damn, they didn't even make it any bigger. Yeah. That's 8%. There you go. Let's see if I can pull it up. All right. I don't want it that big. That's good. So how do I share it? Let's see if I can share that page with y'all. Oh, who's that? Grunt. Grunt always. Thank you for tuning in, Grunt. So I can't do that. Trying to see. Oh, I can do this though. So right here we see the numbers. In 2016, you see children 665. You see them actually 2016 and 2018 weren't bad. 17 was kind of a wild year, but you see as COVID hit is when the numbers have gone up dramatically. If you look at injuries, went up 9,000, 4,000 deaths, almost 300 teens. I don't understand it though, because you have all these organizations, you have all of these nonprofits, these groups coming out and asking for ceasefires in Gaza. Bless up, Mike. You have all these politicians, and what's crazy is we sit here and we're divided over something that we know nothing about. Literally, because nobody's teaching education about Israel and Palestine. And I'm talking about real education. And at the end of the day, the only reason why America's even involved in it is because of interest, America's interest. It doesn't have anything about us doing the right thing. No, we're behind Israel because if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. That's why. You think this has to do with doing the right thing? Hell no. This has nothing to do with doing the right thing at all, because if it was to do with the right thing, we have plenty of cases going on here in America. Plenty of them. We have literally a genocide going on here in America. And I'm gonna say it. We have a genocide here in America. A genocide. And nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to talk about it. We always want to talk about the Jews and the Holocaust. Now everybody wants to talk about Gaza and Palestine. What about the genocide that is going on in our streets of America with our kids, with our youth, not only from gun violence, but the drugs, the sex trafficking, and the poor public education system? Like, that's not going to hit home. We literally have kids that are going to the cities and dying from rural areas because some of them think that it's gang banging is cool. Some think that the street life is cool. It's not cool. It's not cool at all. Ain't none of that street shit cool. None of it. And what's crazy is I thought, it is genocide. I don't care what you say, dude. I really don't. It is genocide. It is genocide. I don't care what you say. It is genocide. You can't call it genocide because simply you're a white person. How are you going to tell me? Then what's crazy is you have people like this that literally talk and don't do anything more than that, than talk, than anything, because they sit here and this is what's wrong with America. Pick up a dictionary. Oh, I don't need to pick up a dictionary. But this is what's wrong with America. You have these white liberals, these white crybabies, these whinies that literally come out here and get with movements to sit here and indoctrinate people, to sit here and go a certain way and don't even tell them the real truth or try to even educate them. The BLMs, the NAACPs, the ACLUs, how we got all of these organizations, but we can't get no change or reform. Answer me that. Because I just seen a trial, evidentiary hearing last week, and court transcripts. The court transcripts, the ex-police officers that have came and spoken out, and we still can't get no change. You still got people rocking behind Ilhan Omar, Don Samuels, Keith Ellison, Walls, Amy Klobuchar. Where are these people calling them out? You got John Thompson in the news, and he ain't even a politician no more for something that he did with his finances. Who, I don't care about that. Y'all ain't even going after the people from feeding our futures. Stop trying to gaslight us black people. That's what I don't understand. Stop trying to gaslight us, because that's what it is. We get gaslit so much in our politics and in our own communities. And you know, I know we talked about this on Monday, but what Charleston White said, there is no black community. There never has been. Not since pre the civil rights era. There ain't no black communities, because at the end of the day, we're not out here trying to build Black Wall Streets. We're not out here trying to build Black generational wealth. We're out here marching and protesting while they're sitting here making it harder for us to do things. And we're too undereducated or uneducated to even realize what these people are doing. Because how many people even knew or even understood that there's literally a working group on juvenile black capitalism. So what you're looking at is a working group on youth interventions, right? So I want people to see who the members are, because these people, these are all people that already work inside of a system, right? So you got somebody from NAMI, Elliot Boutte, Molly Bruner from Scott County, Ashley Beckman, who is the Commissioner of Human Services, Sarah Ellsworth, who's from the Public Defender's Office, Joseph Glassrud, who is the from the Minnesota County Attorneys Association, Alan Godfrey, Commissioner of the Department of Corrections, Heather Goodwin Carver, Kathy Hedden, Ramsey, Millie Hernandez, Minneapolis American Indian Center, Stearns County Melissa Huberty, Terry Fawcett, Minneapolis Association of County Probation Officers, Catherine Johnson, Minnesota Association of Community Correction Act Counties, Nicole Kern from the same place, Suwana Kirkland, Dakota County. She also ran for Hennepin County Sheriff and lost to Joe Witt and not Joe Witt. I forget his last name now, but it was a black man and Dewana Witt who actually won, and she's on this group as well. Shauna King, who is Hennepin County with the experience of juvenile system. Jeffrey Lundy, Hennepin County. Jasmine Madison, Ramsey County, with the experience of juvenile system. Wendy Morton, our county social service administrators. Diane Neal, Commissioner of Human Services. Nikki Niles, Olmsted County. Jim Schneider, Minnesota Association of County Probation Officers. Paula Stock from St. Louis County. Terry Thomas, Washington County. Lynn Valdez, County Social Service Administrators. Dylan Warkton, Anoka County. And Dewana Witt, Minnesota Sheriff's Association. So these are all the people that are literally going to these groups and these meetings and are talking about changes in the judicial system that we need dramatic change to. And I want to go to a letter that was presented. Is it the O'Donnell testimony? Yeah, it is. So this is a written oral testimony from James O'Donnell, and he is representing the Minnesota Juvenile Detention Association, which consists of 12 juvenile facilities across the state. I'm going to name them off before I get what his testimony is. It's Anoka County, Arrowhead, Dakota County, East Central, Hennepin County, Red Wing Correctional Facility, Northwestern Minnesota Juvenile Center, Prairie Lakes Youth Programs, Ramsey County Juvenile Detention Center, Red River Valley Juvenile Center, Scott County Juvenile Alternative Center, West Central Regional Juvenile Center. So I want to get into this story. And his testimony will highlight significant gaps in children's mental health in Minnesota. I want to begin my testimony with a story of the increasing reliance on juvenile detention centers when it comes to responding to children's mental health. For anonymity purposes, the name and area is changed or is generic. However, the story and actions are true events. Madison, a 14-year-old autistic girl, is detained after she was attempting suicide by getting ran over on a busy highway. Detention was not law enforcement's first choice by any means. The first choice was Madison's mother. However, Madison's mother refused to take custody of her, and she wanted her daughter placed somewhere that could keep her safe. Madison has a long history with social services and has numerous community services and even some OHP treatment placements. Law enforcement then reached out to social services, where they too were unable to help, as no places would accept Madison due to her aggressive behaviors and history of non-compliance. Law enforcement, in conjunction with social services, had no choice but to charge Madison with the lowest charge that could get her accepted in the juvenile detention. Madison was eventually placed in the non-secure program in the detention facility. In addition to ASD, Madison had uncontrolled epilepsy. In order to better understand her epileptic needs, a neurology appointment was set up. While at the neurology appointment, Madison began to behave erratically and physically. Hospital staff had restrained Madison for her safety, and the doctor placed a freeze on her as Madison was clearly in a need of inpatient psychiatric care. The facility supervisor then called a local adolescent psychiatric hospital to begin the referral process. The referral process was going as planned until the hospital found out a juvenile detention facility was making the referral. Upon learning that the referral was coming from a juvenile detention center, the hospital intake worker informed the supervisor that they had no beds available. The supervisor indicated that she is on their daily announcement email list, and this morning they sent out an email stating that they had 4 open inpatient adolescent beds. The intake worker suggested that the open beds were for youth 10 and younger. The hospital intake worker apologized and said there was nothing they could do. The facility supervisor then spoke to a neuro doctor who placed a hold on Madison. She asked the doctor to push their weight to see if they could get the psych hospital to accept Madison. After a couple hours passed, staff were informed that the psych hospital would conduct a needs assessment and they could bring Madison to the psych hospital. Now that's crazy to me, that you had police officers and law enforcement charge a 14-year-old autistic child with a crime to get them help. How does that get them help? And that shows right there that there is a major haywire in our system when we literally have to charge kids to get to mental health help. That's not getting them help. You're putting them through a process and trauma that they don't even have to go through. These are kids, but you know what's crazy is, because I see it in our education system, we literally give up on the kids that have ADHD, ADD, and put them as behavioral issue kids. So then they have to go to these alternative learning centers and these different schools, and they're labeled. They're stereotyped for the simple fact that when we look at an alternative learning center or an alternative high school, we automatically think as a society that we think those are bad kids. It's just like with these black kids. When they get killed, what's the first thing that people ask? Were they gang members? Even my own people, black people. That's the first thing we ask. What gang were they in? Were they gangbangers? And it's like we don't even want the whole story sometimes. We just automatically go for what the media wants us to have, that narrative. And it's ridiculous of how we're blinded and undereducated to just go along with it. Yeah, that's an issue. I feel like it is anyways, maybe not to everybody. Let's get back into this written. So we'll take a coffee break real quick. All right. Juvenile detention staff then transported Madison to the psych hospital. A needs assessment was conducted and concluded that Madison is not in need of inpatient care, and the youth should return back to the juvenile detention center. The facility supervisor was notified and directed her staff to get whatever services they could for Madison. The psych hospital offered their day programming, where Madison would get services on an outpatient basis. The staff took that referral information back with Madison to the juvenile detention center. After all referrals were granted, the juvenile facility transported Madison to the day program. Staff returned to the juvenile facility and soon got a call saying that they needed to come pick Madison up. Staff could hear yelling in the background and asked what is going on. Staff said it sounds like she is in a mental health crisis and she is in the right place. The psych hospital's intake worker called the juvenile detention center's supervisor. The supervisor said that she believed she is in a mental health crisis and she could only accept her back if the facility received a letter from an MD stating juvenile detention was a safe placement for Madison. Shortly after this conversation, juvenile supervisor received a call from the psych hospital's intake director. The intake director notified the supervisor that local police were getting impatient as they were not going to charge her with anything, but would help transport Madison back to the facility. The supervisor questioned why PD was there. Here's where and this is O'Connor, who gave the testimony, made a statement. He says, here's where I need to point out and highlight the situation. A psychiatric hospital called law enforcement to deal with a non-compliant autistic 14-year-old girl. Let that sink in for a minute. I'm going to read that again. A psychiatric hospital called law enforcement to deal with a non-compliant autistic 14-year-old girl. The supervisor said she did not need PD and would come get Madison as soon as she got the letter she asked for signed by an MD. The hospital did send a letter as requested, and the juvenile supervisor and a couple of staff went and picked Madison up. The supervisor had rapport with Madison, so she was able to calm her down and get her to comply with being safe in the moment. Madison then spent the next month at the juvenile center receiving care and working on home integration. Madison was able to return to her mother's care. Overall, there are many other stories similar to this that take place across the state weekly. The reality of the situation is that youth with significant mental health needs are in correctional placements. This was true last year, it is true this year, and will be true next year. It is only exceptionally getting worse. This is very little to no federal or state money that is used to support juvenile centers. There is very little to no federal or state money that is used to support juvenile centers. Juvenile centers are mostly funded 100% by county dollars. In addition, when a youth is placed in secure detention, their medical assistance is stopped. This means that the county will pick up or start over a much more expensive and less effective practice, any medical treatment for the youth. In addition, there were several pieces of legislation that were passed last legislative session, many of which were supported by the MNJDA, and we're happy to see Minnesota moving in a positive, progressive direction. However, there was no funding attached, leaving counties to cover the increased services costs of providing a 1-1 staff ratio for some youth. That's interesting that in a year where they set the budget, right? Because they're not going to be able to do that this year. They're not going to be able to mess with the budget because we have a by minimum budget. So every 2 years, does our legislative senators and governor and reps do a budget. So I don't really know if there's any dollars allocated for something that we could potentially do with our kids in Minnesota, because it is something that is needed. I know as somebody that was in and out the system as a juvenile, and I was stuck in that system, and it was messed up back then. But I know back in the 90s and the late 80s, there was more programs. You had juvenile mental health centers. You know, there was the Austin Boys Ranch. You had the I can't even think of these names right now, and that's crazy because I was in some of these. Tangletown, whatever the hell it was called. You had there was something in Anoka. You had Northwood Children's Home. You had another program. Damn, I forget the name. It started with Woodland Hills. You had one that was in St. Cloud. You had, there were so many, and now we don't have anything for our kids. We don't even have mental hospitals. There was the Wilson Center in Faribault. That's Faribault Prison now. So we're literally getting rid of programs and things for our kids. There was the Pillsbury House. There was Boys and Girls Clubs. You had rec leagues. It ain't the same anymore. That community involvement is nowhere near where it should be. And I think, why is that? Where did we as people go wrong? And I think about that often, you know what I'm saying? Because I think about, especially when it comes to Minneapolis, where did we go wrong? And I say we because I'm talking about the whole state. This doesn't, it affects everybody. It doesn't matter if you live in Rochester, It doesn't matter if you live in Virginia, Minnesota. It doesn't matter if you live in Hibbing, International Falls, if you live in Crookston, Jackson. It doesn't matter. You're included in this. And I think it's time for people to wake up, pay attention, and get involved, however that looks in your community. But I think people really do need to get involved, because we're falling behind. We're falling behind, and we're allowing to be left behind because we're undereducated. And I'm going to still stand on that we're undereducated by far, and not just with generational knowledge and understanding, but financial, everything. Yeah. Let's go back to the gun violence archive. So as we see, this is the latest information. 40,000. That's gun violence deaths, homicides. Damn, suicide is really up there. Holy shit. That's crazy. 38 mass murders, 630 mass shootings, 606 kids injured, 275 killed. That's age from a baby to 11. And then you have teens, 12 to 17, killed 1,300, injured 3,600. God damn. Officer involved. Damn, look at that. That's insane. Damn. Let's see what the last 72 hours look like. Illinois, Alabama. Damn, Alabama. Damn. Columbus. I guess there was well, I shouldn't say I guess, but there was, damn, Alabama off the chain. Philly. Oh, that's because I got this shit to decline. Whoops. I want to see if that officer involved one was on here. That was just yesterday. No, it ain't on there yet. Yeah. Some point. And I just want people to think about that. What are we doing for our youth? What are we doing for our kids? And with that being said, I hope everybody has a great Wednesday. Happy hump day. Stay warm. If you're in the Minneapolis area, there is a camp eviction, encampment eviction, camp Neoski. If people can pay attention to that, as well, pay attention to what's going on, your city councils, because we are going to get in. I'm going to get into what happened in Akron, Ohio, just this week, with their city council putting regulations and stipulations on public comment. And I believe that is, again, that's unconstitutional to not hear from the public, especially in a city that big, and to only give them, 10 speakers, 10 slots for public comment, and then they only get 3 minutes. I don't think that's right, especially with a city of that size of, I think it was like 560,000 people. So that's not cool. That's not what democracy is. That's not what our Constitution calls for. So it's time to stand up, fight back, get educated, and to do this the right way, because protesting and going to the streets and going to talk to empty buildings isn't doing it anymore. We need to get educated. We need to organize. We need to strategize, and we need to plan, right? And we go at this and fight hand in hand, not on these streets, but we go to these city halls. We go to the state capitals when our state legislators are actually, our representatives are actually there, and they can hear us, right? Because then we just keep them there. Who cares if they call it kidnapping? Because they have us kidnapped out here. They have us kidnapped out here in these streets. So I want people to remember that when you're going to vote for president, or you're going to vote for Congress, whatever it is, remember that. What have they done for you lately? So win or fail, freedom or jail, heaven or hell. Wish me well. Y'all have a great one.
Every day, fighting for my life. Every day, fighting for my life. Fighting for my life. Fighting for my bread. Grew from the seed you thought was rot. I think not. Fire bred desire to rise above denial, to rise from former ashes to face new trial or more triumph. I am enough. Trial to triumph. I am enough. Every day I fight for my life. Every